Hey guys, it's Whitney from All the Shelves. Today I'm going to be doing a tag called the Save the Classics tag. I was tagged by Marissa. Her channel's called Little Spider 9 and she actually created the tag, so I will link her channel down below and it is definitely worth checking out. It's been one of my favorites for a long time now. She just has a very straightforward way of presenting information that I really like. I feel like she's very efficient in her descriptions of books, and so I never feel like I'm wasting my time at all when I watch her channel. The first question in this tag is, what is your favorite classic book? And I feel like this question is impossible. And also I have already talked about a lot of classics in other videos that I've done, namely like my American literature series that I've been doing. So I decided to talk about something new that I also love. It might not be my very favorite, but it's worth reading. And that is Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. I always have a hard time saying that. I always second guess myself. That one and Nietzsche, whatever. But that's not really the important thing here. I love this book at the same time as I am deeply disturbed by it, which I think is how we all should feel about it. The language in it is absolutely stunning. Every sentence of it kind of takes your breath away, at the same time as this is notoriously a story about Humbert Humbert. He's in his like mid-30s and he is sexually attracted to a young girl named Lolita. She is 12 years old, and the book is written intentionally with scenes that force you to understand that sexual attraction and to experience that sexual attractions in ways that cannot possibly be comfortable. So in that way, this book is a pretty amazing experiment in narrative voice. It's told from the perspective of a pedophile, and it's asking you to, if not sympathize and empathize with that pedophile, at least understand his motives, which is an incredibly uncomfortable process. At the same time, the way that the narrative is structured is quite brilliant. It has a lot in common with a detective story as he's like discovering the sexuality of this young girl, and it's just a very harrowing, interesting read. I feel like I could read this one like 100 times and not fully understand it, which I think is a mark of an amazing book. The next question is, which writer from the past would you like to have dinner with? This question is in so many tags and I never know how to answer it. In the past I've said Hemingway because he was like crazy and masculine and had so many stories, I imagine, and that could be fun. This time I'm going to say Mark Twain because I just finished reading Huckleberry Finn. I feel like I could listen to Mark Twain tell me his thoughts on life and being an American all day. And also I grew up Mormon and he had a lot of really funny things to say about Mormons, so maybe he'd get a kick out of me. The next question is, what classic literary character best describes me? And I felt a little egotistical thinking through this question. I was like, oh, which characters do I like the very best? That one must be me, right? So I had a hard time. So instead I went to a BuzzFeed quiz and I filled in all the answers and they said I was like Jo March, which I think is a huge compliment and actually takes me into the next question in the tag, which is, what is the first classic that you remember reading? And that for me is Little Women. My aunt gave me this copy and it has these beautiful like deckled edges, and she didn't inscribe it, which makes me really sad, so I don't remember what year it was. But like huge pages, and as a kid who loves reading, these pictures are so pretty. As a kid who loves reading, this was like a dream come true of a physical object. Like you can just sit it in your lap, and it took up my whole lap and I just loved reading this. I remember reading it on a road trip as soon as she had given it to me. I think I was in California and we were coming back home and I was on this road trip with my grandparents and I just read the whole time. The one thing I will say about Little Women is that the second half does not appeal to whatever age I was. I think I was probably in like, I can't say, maybe second grade. These interesting kids growing up and getting married was just not interesting to me at all. And then the last question on this tag is, which classic would I recommend to a friend? And I chose a classic that not a lot of people read anymore, although I think that they used to abundantly read it. It is The Once and Future King by T.H. White. This recently cropped up in something that I read, which was H is for Hawk by Helen Macdonald. I actually have like a few more pages of that. Haven't read it, haven't finished it yet. And she was talking about T.H. White, so I kind of wonder if there will be like more people reading this. The reason I read it is really stupid. I loved that movie X2, and Magneto in his plastic prison is reading The Once and Future King, and Magneto is my favorite character, so I wanted to read what Magneto was reading. Not that I'm like a villainous psychopath, but he was interesting to me, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder what that book's about. Turns out I had actually read the first part, The Sword and the Stone, in 9th grade. It was a required reading for us, and I adored it, and my teacher never told us that there was more to the story, which is the complete like Arthurian legend. And it's told in a more compelling way, I think, than any of the other Arthurian legend stories. I mean, maybe it's not as like literary, but I just gobbled this up. I actually got this book because it's pretty thick and the writing is very tiny, and I needed a book to read on a flight to France, and so I got this, and you know, I obviously didn't read it all in the flight to France, but it really kept me engaged. And so I think that it's one that like even people who don't read a lot of classics might be really happy with, because it's a familiar story, but told with more detail and character development than we're used to seeing with this story. So I love this book, The Once and Future King. So that is the Save the Classics tag. Make sure to go check out Marissa's BookTube channel, which I have linked down below. I'm going to tag Kate Howe and Stephanie from That's What She Read and Stephanie from Time to Read, because they have been some of my read-along buddies, and I know that all three of those women read a lot of classics, so I'd like to hear what they had to say. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys later.